What is up guys, I'm back and this is the iPhone 6s and it's time for the full review treatment. So before I start, I want to say another huge shout out to Ramstech because without them this video would not be possible. And if you need anything Apple related and you're from Trinidad and Tobago, there's no place else you need to go and all the information will be down in the description below. So the iPhone 6s is an incremental upgrade from last year's iPhone 6 and it's evident in a lot of ways, but is it worth the upgrade? We'll find out. It shares almost the exact design except for the fact that it's a bit thicker, heavier and has that little S at the back. So you can use the phone without a case and show off this S so everyone know you have the latest and greatest. Like I mentioned in my first impressions, the added thickness and weight feels a bit better in my opinion as it adds a more sturdy feel to the device as compared to the 6. At the top of the device you'll find absolutely nothing, while the 3.5mm headphone jack, lightning port and speaker lives at the bottom. In terms of sound quality with the speakers, it sounds pretty good and a bit above average in my opinion, generally the same as the iPhone 6. On the left side you'll find the volume buttons and finally on the right side you'll find the power button. The only thing to really take note of on the back of the device is the new 12MP shooter and its accomplices, which we'll get to in a little while. It's sporting a 4.7-inch 1334x750 resolution display where, yeah I know, but it's the exact resolution needed to keep that 326 ppi needed to call it that retina display. It's no 1080p or 2K display like you'll find on Android devices, and while it's definitely not noticeable to me, the screen really looks gorgeous and to add to it, it's beautifully calibrated and the blacks look extremely deep although it's an LCD display. Like usual, you know specs mean absolutely nothing when coming to daily use and performance, but just for the sake of it, the iPhone 6s has the new Apple A9 chip, 2GB of RAM and a 1715mAh battery, which in my opinion is good enough for a full day of battery life with medium to light usage. It's running iOS 9 out of the box, the latest iteration of Apple's mobile operating system, and it brings some new software features. Visually, it's almost identical to iOS 7 and 8, but it's much more optimized. Where differences are concerned, there's a new multitasking drawer, or you may know it as an app switcher, and it really seems as if this was designed for left-handed people specifically, but I highly prefer it over the previous iteration since it's a lot faster and snappier. The Spotlight search also offers some new Siri suggestions based on how you use your device. There's a low power mode now to help you squeeze some more battery life out of your device in those critical times. And one of the most understated changes is the new font. It looks really nice and many people don't notice it. A nice addition is also the search bar in the settings menu. This has been so convenient on Android for a while and it's nice to see it now on iOS. And side note, for all of you who compares who copies from who, honestly just get over it because the more companies borrow from others, better overall devices for us are the result. Another addition with the 6s is 3D Touch, which introduces a Z-axis when interacting with the operating system through touch. There are multiple layers of depth, which is why it's not the same thing as Force Touch, and it may seem like a gimmick, but it's honestly really convenient. You can press harder on an email to peek and see what it's about, and if you're interested, just press a bit harder and it will open it up. The same functionality is also added in multiple places, and if you already own an iPhone 6s, just go Force Touch on everything and see what works and what doesn't. While we're on the topic of 3D Touch, I must mention I personally love the new Live Photos feature. Regardless of if it's available to play back only on iOS or Mac, it's just a really nice thing to have, especially if there's a little baby around the house that you'll be taking a lot of photos of. Also, Touch ID is ridiculously fast, just like you saw in the first impressions. It's just unbelievably quick. I literally never see the lock screen anymore and have to use either another finger or use the power button to turn on the display if I do want to see it. And no, I'm not kidding, it's really that fast. Performance-wise, you're in for a treat. I've been using the iPhone 6s for almost a month. It's been over a month right now. And there was only one instance where the device froze up on me in the early times. And there's been an update since then and it never happened again. It's faster, snappier, and hands down the best iOS experience I've had to date, obviously since it's the latest iPhone running the latest version of iOS. But you'll have no issues here for sure. Moving on to my personally most anticipated upgrade, the new 12MP camera is more than welcomed. I love the photos that come from this camera, but I have to say honestly that although the iPhone line has always had the best camera lineup in the past, after using the LG G4 and Galaxy S6 Edge Plus, it's a bit hard to say I'm really impressed. However, it's still at the top tier of smartphone cameras available right now and there's no downside I can actually find when coming to it. It's a really solid camera, focus, white balance and dynamic range is always on point and the live photos feature just adds to the experience. Overall, the basic idea of the camera goes for the entire phone as a whole. Everything is always on point and it's definitely a solid device. Performance is great, the camera is great, and the only downside can be if your preference is Android. Like seriously, not kidding, this is a really great phone. As for if it's a worthy upgrade from the iPhone 6, I'd say if you really want 3D touch, the upgraded camera and lightning fast touch ID, you can go for the 6S. Other than that, I think you might be better off waiting until the next iteration unless you really want the 6S anyway and it's in your budget, then go right ahead. So that's been it for this review. Thank you guys so much for checking it out. Give it a huge thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys in the next one.